Behavior has officially released the newest devlog for the next PTB on March 11th. I should be getting this video up on March the 8th, so about 3 days from now. In it, there are some changes. It does not list the new killer, which, again, if you have been following leaks and or rumors, is supposedly, keep in mind, not 100% confirmed, you never want to trust anything except from Behavior's official mouths, is supposedly Tokyo Ghoul, and we will be getting a killer with 3 perks from that. This sadly does not have it in there, and the reason I waited to make this video for Friday and then upload it on the weekend was hoping for some sort of official teaser from Behavior, but that might be on Monday instead. That being said, there are some neat things in here. The main one, or not the main one, the first one is that mending is officially nerfed in a way. They decreased it by 2 seconds for the self-mending time and also made altruistic mending time also 2 seconds faster. The thing is that this does actually buff Legion in a way, because most people, what you do is that you 99 your mend against Legion when it's maxed out, and then you pop them in once you know Legion's out of power, but some people don't do that, and because in the same update, they've also buffed Legion, Legion gets 2 buffs. They get a base kit buff, and they get a mending buff. Basically, all that means is that since people can finish mend faster, and they also increase Legion's frenzy duration, that means that Legion is going to have an easier time chaining hits against people that may or may not know how to face them properly. Which, talking about Legion, they got buffed. A lot of it's just base kit adjustments to frenzy, making it longer, making it faster, things like that. Add-ons like Moral Sketch are getting adjusted to compensate for this, probably nerfs in all the regards. They don't list what add-ons they changed, but it is adjusting several of them. Not really anything important. If you play Legion, it's just going to be less add-on reliant on Moral Sketch and Friendship Bracelet and Never Sleep Pills, so not really a big deal. The biggest change for people that actually like this killer is the Xenomorph. They've finally added a wind-up to the Tail Strike, which for people that don't know, the Tail Strike was basically you press the M2 button when in crawler mode and it instantly launches out, and survivors don't have time to dodge. A previous example of this was Deathslinger when he first released. There was no aim down sight timer. It was literally just aim down sight and you can insta-fire. No, you could not react as a human being. So, Xeno got changed in that regard. They basically buffed the Tail Strike. The more interesting and the more controversial change is the turrets. Basically, turrets, how they work right now, is that you place a turret, it slows down Xenomorph a little bit, and that's kind of it. Unless you double stack turrets, it's not going to break her out of her power, and you can't really hold that charge. Now they're making it to where each turret is independently a bit better, but also a little weaker in the same regard, but I'll get into that in a moment. So now the turrets go into a like a stat block, like a little charge timer, and the charge timer got increased. So now instead of 100 charges, it's 175 charges. Say each turret dispenses 5 charges a second. So now you go from turret to turret, because now it takes longer to dissipate. Usually, the moment a turret stopped firing, it would instantly dissipate in a second. Now it's 15 seconds before it even starts. But you know, it's an interesting idea. The problem is that Xeno's not that good in terms of countering turrets, and it's actually one of the more agonizing areas of playing against Xeno. A lot of people complain about like how if people use the turrets well, you basically just don't get a power. But this is why I feel like this is a side grade, because at least in my matches, whenever I do face a Xeno, who's not a very commonly picked killer because of the turret thing, most survivors I play with tend to only place turrets at the start of the match. They're not going out of their way to set it out outside of that. So while it's better to chain turrets together than it ever has been for actual value, it also feels like at least for my games, I feel like people aren't going to use it. Or at least it's going to take weeks before people do. Because, let's be honest, most people don't read patch notes. I'm being very, very honest when I say that. The add-ons also are getting ingested. Which, keep in mind, I know a lot of Xenomorph players do not like the turret changes. They agree with the wind-up changes. The missed attack cooldown, adding a wind-up, things like that, they agree with. They don't like the turret stuff. And keep in mind that this is a PTB. Player test builds, again, you can always give feedback. I kind of do that. I'm not really big on the feedback scene. I don't play Xeno, I don't play Legion. I only face these guys, and technically, Legion's a standard M1. As long as you loop good, you're fine. Xenomorph, these changes are so massive, I have to play against it to find out, right? So if you don't think these are good, and after you play on the PTB with them, please go list on the forums or wherever you hope behavior can see you. The forums are the best place to do it on, but just keep that in mind. When we go through this, you can always list changes. You can always be like, hey, I don't want this to go through. Nothing is set in stone. If enough of an outcry happens, it won't get added. There's also all these dev notes that I'm not reading. Chucky, also, cooldown back down to 12 seconds. Good. They also reduced time to reach max speed at the start of Slice and Dice and after Scamper. A lot of people are saying that the speed on Chucky felt fine. In a way, I don't know. There's a Chucky main by the name of Levi, otherwise known as the Ghost Anonymous. This is basically what they wanted for Chucky changes. A lot of people didn't like that Chucky got nerfed recently, but from what I've seen, it's more of a skill issue than anything else. So this should go over pretty good. I don't really see any downside to the Chucky buffs at all or any changes. It just seems like an overall funny little buff. So not a big deal. They also adjusted a bunch of terror radiuses. Why they did this is to help 3 stealth killers, Pig, Ghostface, and Skull Merchant. Skull Merchant seems like an outlier because I don't know why you want to just buff the undetectable from the drones instead of changing her entire terror radius to 24 meters, but whatever. Hillbilly and Blights, though, got larger and they're now Wesker size of 40 meters, which sounds fair. But here's where we're going to get into something interesting, is that there is a perk called Infectious Fright, which is when you down a survivor, it makes other people in your terror radius scream. Why is that bad for Billy and Blight? Well, actually, that's a good thing. Both of these killers are really, really good at slugging, and the anti-slug changes are not coming in this PTB. Those are set to come before Anniversary, which is in about 3 or 4 months. Well, I guess 5 months because they delayed everything by 3 weeks, so it's been 4 or 5 months until those come out. So until that feature comes out, both of these killers are going to have an easier time slugging with Infectious Fright. Especially Billy. Blight depends on add-ons, but Billy can just do that base good. So this is going to have mixed results. On good killers who run Infectious, you're going to get a lot more slugging matches, but on the average killer, it will let people get like a little bit larger of a warning. It's kind of whatever. I feel like the main reason they only change Billy's is because since they buff the chainsaw speed and overdrive and stuff, some people can't react in time to the 32 meters, and the extra 8 will probably help. And Blight's is just because his power is kind of quiet. New feature, which is one that I'm really excited for, is the match surrender option. When all remaining survivors are bots, the killer can surrender without disconnection penalty. Awesome. I think this should be 2 survivors. And oh my god. And the reason I say that is because literally the day on Thursday when this got announced, I was playing Nurse. I RNG'd into Midwich. I literally memed and I'm like, DC check, and I blinked to someone with lethal and hit them. They DC on down. Another person DCs, and then by the time I hook another bot, a third person DCs, and then you just have a random ass UE in the lobby just kind of chilling. So I don't think it should be all survivors, because if 2 people DC, the match is kind of done. If it's like 8 hooks in, 1 person DCs, and like everyone's deathhook or whatever, like you might as well play that out, so 1 DC is not a big deal. At the start of the round, it can be kind of mixed. I had that recently. I was playing Skull Merchant, someone saw me play Skull Merchant, instant DC'd. I'm assuming they don't know that Skull Merchant got changed from a year ago. So a lot of things like that, it's just like 1 DC is kind of just annoying, but 2 DCs basically signifies the match is over already. So this should be a 2 or 3 DC, not all 4 survivors. The other one is when a generator has been completed for 10 consecutive minutes, the killer can surrender, which is interesting. I've had matches where people sit around the corner for 40 minutes, and it does say completed. Not touched, not worked on, specifically a gen that hasn't popped yet. And it is the killer's option. So that means that survivors can't hide all match and then surrender and go next. No. Only the killer can. So if you really want to kill 2 survivors hiding for 30 minutes, you can just sit there for 30 minutes, like touching yourself, just waiting for them to pop up, but we'll see how that plays out. That should be interesting. This is probably going to make information perks honestly less ran, because if you wait 10 minutes, okay, you just surrender. Although it does make the survivors win, so who knows. Survivors can DC when everyone else is bots, which kind of helps with, like, if 3 people DC, but again, I feel like this should also just be lowered down to 2. However, behavior needs to add in a detection system for Swifts, so that Swifts can't abuse this. I believe that's why it's 3 people, so you have to be in a 4-man, and then, like, people slowly get taken down one by one. And then the last one is survivors are all on the dying state. This one's gonna be mixed, because you're probably going to get some killers who just want to be rude, BM people, by slugging 3 and then just following the last guy around, and then whenever they pick up, just insta-downing them, and then just continuing that until people bleed out. So, I wouldn't mind if this also got a caveat of 3 survivors are slugged for like 2 minutes or something, because that either means that a survivor's just hiding, or the killer's literally doing what I just described of following the last person around. This, obviously, the match surrender option, this is the first time we're testing something like this because a lot of people are going out. I highly recommend keeping a positive outlook and assuming that they can always just add more stuff to it or add slight tweaks. It's not set in stone. This can get changed. But it's a really, really good baseline. Also, plot twist does not affect this, so if you wanted to load into a match with no mid or plot twist, everyone plot twist and then you guys surrender, doesn't work that way. Sorry, disappoint. Area of Crows is also getting a complete, or a side subtle rework to make the map weaker, as well as getting another variant that's focused on shack, which I think means that there's not going to be a main building, judging by this third photo. It doesn't look like there's a main building on this map, just shack in the middle, kind of like Wrecker's Yard. Obviously, have to play this. This double pallet setup looks like absolute pain for an M1, I'm not gonna lie. It's an interesting thing with a pallet there, window. You can definitely chain this, where you go window, and then you run to the left, you run through this pallet. If you pre-drop this, it becomes a safe tile, but then if the killer kicks it, it goes back to being a 50-50 on the pallets. It looks interesting to play. It looks like there might be something this way, like a totem spawn or a doorway, or this might be another vault, and if this is another vault, this tile's busted, unironically. I will never like Area of Crows, but the reason I can't like it is because I don't like the lighting on it, but also because every single thing sounds like footsteps. The ink sounds like footsteps, the sand sounds like footsteps, so it's really aggravating as a killer player to try playing on it. So until that changes, I will never like Area of Crows, and it's kind of the same thing with Coldwind Farms, where the lighting just makes it to where I will literally never like the map. Otherwise, there's some perk updates as well for Survivor. Quick and Quiet, Deception, Dance With Me, Red Herring. It's just overall buffs, mostly cooldown decreases, as well as making the actual effects just a bit longer. It doesn't really do much. If you use these perks, great, you get a buff. Killer perks, we'll cover Knockout last. Same thing with Alien Instinct, Hysteria, Deathbound, Nemesis. It's basically just overall buffs to like the duration, the cooldowns, things like that, just to make them a little bit nicer. Knockout, however, is getting a complete rework. What Knockout currently does is that when you down somebody with an M1, so no powers, they get like a little deafened effect around their head, and then you also can't see their aura on the ground within like, unless you're within like 16 meters or like 8 meters or something. And then it also decreases the recovery speed as well as their crawl speed for a little bit when they get knocked. The reason people don't like this perk is because it kind of only messes with solo queue, because if you're in a team, you can be like, hey, I got downed in shack, please come grab me. If you're in solo queue, you can't do that because there's no ping system. So, it's good that it got changed. However, it got changed not from just removing the aura reading or remove the accessibility issue of like the suddenly muting the game sound. It is when a survivor drops a pallet, if they move 6 meters away from it, within 6 seconds, they gain 5% hindered for 5 seconds. There are other perks that work on this logic, like Dissolution, for instance. Does not matter where the injure happens. If you're playing Plague or Skull Merchant and someone gets injured across the map from your ability, it triggers Dissolution. So this basically says, the moment a survivor drops a pallet, they have 6 seconds to stay within 6 meters or they get 5% hindered. And that sounds really, really fair for an M1 killer like Trapper, or like Wraith or something, where the like pre-dropping pallets and things works really, really well against them. The problem is when you make killers like Huntress and Nemesis and Deathslinger, Pyramid Head and Bubba and Clown and Demo, who just shred through pallets or just completely ignore the mechanic. So imagine you're playing Survivor, right? You run to a pallet, Bubba's behind you, his chainsaw's going. You drop the pallet. Oh, he insta-breaks it. You're forced to move away. 6 meters away from the pallet, you get 5% hindered, so you can't reach the next pallet. Bubba's already revving his chainsaw. So that's basically only... there's no cooldown on this either. So like the Bubba can chain survivors with it, and I feel like it's gonna make tunneling easier. So I know behavior wants to discourage slugging in preparation for the anti-slug update to make it less apparent, and this perk is definitely a change in like essence of that. But this is not the way to do it. Unless you want to go in and put independent values for killers, or make it to where if the pallet is broken, they no longer get 5% hindered. The way this reads is gonna be miserable. Now they put if the pallet is broken, it doesn't count. However, I honestly don't fully trust behavior to actually code that in. So yeah, expect this to be meta on quite a few killers if this does come to life. And that's it. That's the last thing. Keep in mind there's going to be a new killer. I'll be covering a video on that probably on the Tuesday that the PTB happens, just a little bit later in the day. If you're here from YouTube Shorts, I am going to start making a short series that is weekly DPD news. I'm being inspired by this guy who does like, this is the past week of VTuber news or whatever. I'm hoping to do that for DPD. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Mish, for instance, excellent DPD streamer, they're holding a mysterious content creator tournament where you don't know who the players are until after they're eliminated. Really good concept on paper. It's because last time that someone held something, a lot of people were a bit venomous, I want to say, towards a lot of the specifically non-male streamers. Just sadly how the internet is. So it's a really good idea. I'm really excited for that to come out. There's also an all-fem tourney that people can sign up for as well. I'll try putting like a link to it below if people are interested in that. Keep in mind it's all fems and MBs, so no males. And yeah, that's it. See you guys in the next one. Extra side for the PTB. Remember, releases on March 11th. Bye.